Riley Gale from Power Trip, man. How have you been?
What's up, Bees? I've been pretty good. How have you been?
Yeah, not so bad, not so bad. I have to ask this to everyone. How's lockdown been for you?
It's been stressful. I mean, there's no doubt about it. You know, if I knew that there was some kind of date or end in sight, I would feel a lot better about it. But you know, it's scary. This is the longest we've ever gone without playing a show, period. Since the band began. So it's just one of those things where it's kind of hard to find time to do things for myself. It's hard to get motivated, to be completely honest. There's only so much you can do, and Dallas has had a city ordinance where masks are required everywhere, which is fine. I back that up. There's no problem with that. But with the protests going on and everything else going on, I feel like everybody else, just a big keeping mass of uncertainty kind of weighing over everybody. I don't know if the ideologies, whether you want to say it's 2 or 2.5 or whatever, I don't know how these ideologies are going to come together and find a compromise in the situation that we're in, sort of. I know it's beyond the quarantine lockdown and things like that. And Texas, a lot of stuff is starting to open back up, which is cool. I'm probably going to take a road trip this weekend and try and see some friends in Austin and San Antonio, just because I've been locked down for so long. But yeah, overall, I think it's just everyone just feels uncertain,
Yeah.
And when things kick back up again, it's like, do we try and fight to get back, be one of the first bands back out on the road? Do we sit back and wait and see what the economy looks like? Because I feel like the music economy is in a big danger of a lot of bands are going to be taking steps back. I feel like, venues are probably going to be charging more for tickets. There's probably going to be merch cuts and bigger merch cuts. And if a venue didn't do a merch cut, they'll probably start doing a merch cut. And bands will probably have to take lower guarantees. There's just a whole mess of things that, it's so uncertain for an already uncertain industry when you're trying to make a career out of it. So,
Could I ask?
Sure.
Could I ask, Riley, like, how much strain does this put on a band the size of Power Trip, right? Because when we saw, like, I've got loads of mates in bands, and I've heard stories, but like when it comes to Power Trip, I don't mean to start this off on a bit of a bummer, but like how much strain has this whole situation put on a band in your position?
I think it's put quite a bit of strain on our position because, we don't really know what to do with ourselves. I've been trying to be a little more politically active and work with some charities and things like that. But I don't really know what most of the other guys are up to from day to day. I know Nick and Chris have taken up fishing. Olsh is out in Philadelphia, so I don't really know what he's up to. And Blake's writing, he's working, but right now it's kind of like, what's the point of recording an album when we don't know when we can tour off of it or get any real support from it?
Yeah.
I admire the bands that are being bold enough to drop records right now, but it doesn't. I think Lamb of God is like the biggest band I've seen to drop a record, and they'll be fine. They're a legacy band, so they can kind of do that. But for us, I think the third record is going to be a huge matter of timing and yeah, I don't know. We went from trying to write and be in the studio by August to now we're kind of just like in a holding pattern to see what happens with the rest of the world,
Have you started? So, because I was going to ask you this later on, but like it's been like 3+ years since you did Nightmare Logic with Arthur Rizek. Like, how far are you written for a new record? Are you like
Blake,
done and ready to record? Or
Blake's always writing. He's got. I mean, probably gigabytes now of just riffs that he records, and he's even gotten into a pattern of. He's got like a little drum machine that he'll program some rough song ideas so that when him and Chris do get together, there's sort of a map that he's got in place. But I have a ton of lyrical content written, but most of the time that stuff doesn't come together until I'm in the studio and I hear, the actual structure of the song and things like that. So, and where I think, a line works or a subject matter works here or there, whatever. I don't, I get inspired to write down one-liners or like clever topics or whatever, but I don't really get anything written until I'm in studio. So yeah, I know that Blake's gotten together with Chris Ulsh, our drummer, and I think he's even gotten together with Nick, which which would be really cool if Nick got involved with writing of this record, just to have another perspective. And Nick's a great guitar player, so I think he could come up with a song on his own. There was a song on Nightmare Logic. Well, there was a song that went unused for Nightmare Logic that Nick had essentially wrote the entire thing, and we just never got around to recording it. But it was a good song. So, we're trying to step out of the box, I guess, even more so on this album. I don't think you'll see anything too crazy, but Blake's got a lot of ideas in his head, and we never really, know what something's going to sound like until we all get together and start tracking. So.
Yeah, that's fair enough. Like, I wanted to ask about Nightmare Logic. Like, you toured that for so long, because it feels like a real of the recent era, a real landmark for heavy music. Like, I'll tell you, man, like when I have a big shuffle playlist, when something from Nightmare Logic comes on, like you get that jolt and real like, fuck yeah. Did you stay on the road because you knew you had something special with that record? Because the reaction to it's been mad.
Kind of no. Like we were gonna take time off to keep working on the record, and then it was like Danzig asked us to tour, and it was like, well, fuck, you don't say no to Danzig. And then it was like High on Fire asked us to go on tour with Devil Master and Creeping Death, who are like not just like, those aren't just three bands that I love, but it's like Creeping Death and the Devil Master people are great friends too. So we just kept getting these offers that were kind of hard to turn down, and we're still saying to ourselves, there's a lot of people out there who probably haven't heard these songs, or mixing up set lists or whatever. We just went to Asia for the first time back in February. The last show we played was February 17th in Bangkok, Thailand. So, just stuff kept popping up. But now here we are where we've got a lot of time, but, Blake hasn't settled on a studio, I don't think yet. And there's just, it's kind of like, we don't really know. It's hard,
Yeah.
And we even did Hornet's Nest to hold people over, and now it's like that's almost 2 years old. That'll be 2 years old in like I think October or something. But people like that song is getting a lot of play and still getting a lot of love. And then, we said to ourselves, well, what the hell can we do while everyone's locked down? And it's like, well, usually we think live records are kind of corny, but at this time where people are they're they're suffering. They want live music and they're not getting it. You know, they're being deprived of the live music experience. And so we found a really great soundboard recording from our headlining tour with Sheer Mag and Red Death and Fury. And our sound guy, Zach Rippey, just did his thing on mixing and mastering it. And it came out sounding fucking awesome. So we said, let's put it out and let's, you know, give people something to, so even if it's songs that they've heard, you know, let's give them something to listen to while we're sort of in this holding pattern.
That's it, man. And I got respect for any band trying to do anything in a situation like this, right? But there's something about a live album and hearing your fans fight you for the mic and things like that, that like, it was like, oh, it's at least a warm reminder of what live music is, rather than you members of Power Trip playing Soul Sacrifice in your bedrooms or whatever.
I was skeptical of it at first, you know, because it's like, I think, you know, there's only a couple live records that I really dig, and they're usually like older, kind of like classic rock records or whatever.
Which ones?
Strangers in the Night, the UFO live album.
Nice.
The live from Hammersmith, or No Sleep Till Hammersmith, Motorhead. I hate being put on the spot, but
no worries, man.
Those are probably two of my favorites. Yeah. It actually, you know, you can sort of feel the energy bleed through, and you can tell that there's crowd interaction, and we didn't set out to make it like a live album. Like, we weren't like, all right, we're going to set this up to record it live. The venue just so happens to keep all the soundboard recordings, and everything's on a channel. So, you know, our sound guy's a producer and everything. So he got to do everything he wanted to make it sound really good.
Yeah.
But we still got to keep in some of the banter, and you get to hear, you know, some of the most of the sing-along parts. That's not like Nick or anyone backing me up. It's usually someone with the mic, you know, grabbing the mic for me and stuff. And it's awesome. I don't know if you've ever been to Numos, but like, that's a great venue. I love it. I thought what was really cool was we dropped, and this was complete coincidence, we dropped the live record the same day that Seattle had set up the autonomous zone in Capitol Hill. And I thought that was really cool. You know, just sort of this, you know, we're a political band, and I think, you know, that's the kind of change that I think we need to see in the world is people peacefully taking back, you know, the streets and the government, and being heard. And, you know, I may not agree with everything in their demands or what's going on, but what they've done is proven that change can happen, and that, you know, that it's kind of like the whole point of Hornet's Nest is that, you know, you keep fucking with the small, you know, there's a majority. One person walks up and attacks a hornet's nest. Well, there's 1,000 bees, hornets. There's 1,000 hornets, you know, like waiting to pounce. And that's sort of what I've seen happen now is people have finally had enough. And it's you know, I said, don't mess with the hornet's nest. And here we are. We've had the government just poking back, and the people have had enough.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to give you a ton of shit to write about, right?
Oh, it is. Trust me. Yeah, I've got a lot of lyrics. Yeah. And I'm realizing it's more important to focus on the bigger picture than, you know, necessarily targeting an individual. Like, I know I was kind of like picking on the guy from Trapped for a while, and I kind of realized that I wasn't going to get through to this guy. He was set in his ways, and it wasn't worth it. It's not worth it to try and change some people's minds if I can deliver a broader message that addresses the bigger picture and, you know, makes for a better world, which is what I've done lyrically in the past. and want to continue to do. But as we get bigger, it does make me question my platform and how to use it, and you know, how to be charitable, and finding out, a lot of people have told me it's important for you to look out for number one, but right now I don't really see it that way. I think whatever happens to me, I have a good family system and I have a good support system, but a lot of people out there don't, and those are the people that need help. That's why we have these bail funds, and which we've donated to, and before the George Floyd thing happened, I had even gotten up to about $5,000 in donating to Dallas Hope Charities, which is a outreach group. They're the only outreach homeless shelter for LGBTQ, and they primarily focus on people of color and people with HIV and AIDS, and trans people. And because the numbers of rape and sexual assault and stuff are just astronomical, it's disgusting. And so that's sort of been my focus, is trying to help that marginalized group of people. But now, it's important now for everyone, I think, to realize that it's time to address, Black Lives Matter is the song that we need to be singing right now. Everyone does. And what I hope to see is to tie in those things, all right, we're starting to make things better for Black and brown people. And now let's start looking at other marginalized groups and figuring out how we can help them. Mm-hmm. And as the band gets bigger, I want to be able to help people and to use that platform. Anytime I've called someone out or try to bring attention to something, it's not because I want the focus on me. I don't care if I have 5 followers or 50,000 followers on the internet, but if I can, get a message that I believe in across to one person, then I feel like I've done a good job. Mm. And we've touched. I feel like the band has touched a lot of people in that respect. We even I got plenty of messages from people who were like, "Man, I used to like Trapped, and I've been seeing what that guy's been posting, and I checked out your band, and I will be at the next show when all of this ends." We're the video with Ice-T, that's helped bring us a lot of attention. And, Ice has become a straight up hero of mine. He really, really gets it. And he really, and it's not just about Black people, it's about all people. He respects everyone equally. And I think that, I kind of wish, he would get more into the political sphere, because I think he could do a lot of good. And he could be like the counter to Trump, where he talks to people and he talks to them at their level. He's not talking down to you. He's talking to you one-on-one, and he's an incredibly intelligent person. So I've been learning a lot from him on how to sort of navigate this world when you have a political platform that large, because people love calling him out about being, anti-cop, but playing a detective on TV. But they're missing the point that what this is about street cops, everyday cops, and the things that they're responding to, and the amount of responsibilities that they have, and they have too much responsibility. And there's, if people would just think outside the box of non-lethal responses and being responsive before something happens. It's really, the problem with the police is that they're reactive rather than preventative. It's they're not preventing crimes from happening. They're showing up after they've happened. And I'm not saying that we get rid of detectives. There will be rapists and there will be murderers, and we're not going to make everyone in the world perfect. But like, you know, I think that's a nuance that's pretty easy to grasp. Is that we don't need a guy who only has to spend 1,000 hours in training, which may sound like a lot to some people, but really isn't, and then give them a gun and a taser and a badge and basically a license to kill. And now I think the rest of the world is sort of waking up to that. And hopefully it, you know, results in some actual reform.
This started with us talking about your platform. And I think what this chat has shown us is that the size of your platform is not going to impact how hard and fist first you're going to go with what you have to say.
Yeah, I you know, metal is still a small community relatively worldwide, but I mean, shit, you know, if I'm trying to think of an example, you know, Post Malone really likes the band. If I could sit down with Post Malone and talk to him and be like, dude, you're the biggest pop star in the world. Like, you should be out here trying to help and change the world. You know, I think if he sat and listened to me, then maybe, you know, he has the power to do more than I do. And you know, it has a ripple effect. I think it does. So, you know, I agree with you that, like, I wish I could, you know, just give a knockout blow to the government that we've got going right now. I wish we could give a knockout blow to pretty much every government in the world. And, you know, I think very abstractly, I don't think borders are really necessary. I don't think guns are necessary. I don't think, you know, look, I understand the reasoning and the arguments behind it all, and I respect them, but you know, I have a very abstract and loving view of the world, and that is that every human life is of equal value. You know, Trump's life is worth just, and my life are worth just the same as, you know, the child starving in Africa. But that child that's starving is dying, and I don't have the power to save that child, but I can tell you Donald Trump fucking does, and he's not doing anything about it. And there's stuff like that going on all over the world, and there's plenty of people that are guilty. And clearly I'm keeping this focused on America because it's where I'm from and it's what I know. It's what I know best. But you know, to get back to that, right now is the perfect time to learn. Like, turn off your fucking TV and read some textbooks, take an online course. There's a lot of colleges offering online courses. I believe Harvard is offering an intro to philosophy class online that anyone can sign up for, just philosophy 101. All it's on you is to go get the books and read, and you don't even have to. You can just sit back and just listen. And I think, you know, one of the things I've been considering, if this is going to extend any longer, is going back to school and try and become more educated, or maybe try and become more politically active. I'm joining a charity coalition that I mentioned earlier with Dallas Hope Charities, and the whole point is to have sort of people that are influential. Maybe they're not majorly influential. Like, I don't consider myself a major influence, but the director, Evie, believes that, you know, my voice can help. And I said, sign me up. I'll do what I can, and just let me know what you need. So that's still being established, but you know, maybe you'll see something like that. I know our art director is working on a charity T-shirt right now, and you know, we've been trying to do things here and there. or I've been trying to do things here and there to help.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's hard when you're locked down. It's hard when you've got, you know, other responsibilities to take care of. My landlord ain't giving me any breaks on rent or anything like that. So yeah, it's been a lot of hustling and trying to figure out, you know, shit. I even called Home Depot the other day asking if they had, you know, I've been calling around and asking for job availability. I'm not below working at a grocery store and stocking vegetables or whatever, but the media is lying. At least here, there's not really a lot of work out here.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's kind of just sitting around and waiting for unemployment to come in and maybe sell some. I've been selling some comic books and some shirts and just things like that. But, you know,
Riley, as fans, what can we do to support Power Trip? What's the best ways that we can support Power Trip right now?
I mean, the best way you can support Power Trip is just to listen to the shit out of us. And maybe buy the MP3s. You know, there's a donation button on Spotify that 100% goes to us. Pay attention to those days when Bandcamp offers 100% of the revenue going to the bands. If you go to our Bandcamp, there's you know, web stores. We've got a web store with Cold Cuts for the US. We've got Evil Greed for Europe. We're working on setting up some web stores for Australia and Southeast Asia and stuff, so we can kind of save people money on shipping and things like that and still see some money. So, you know, we're not trying to be too in your face about it. I don't want to be in your face about it. There's people that are struggling way harder than we are. But yeah, if you care, just spend money. I suck to say that. I hate saying that. But yeah, just if when you can, you know, and we're constantly swapping out designs and stuff like that. So like, you know, there's always going to be fresh Power Trip gear for people to buy if they want it. Like I said, buying the MP3s as opposed to just streaming on Spotify always helps. But, you know, if you've given that album a ton of hours on Spotify, maybe consider throwing a couple bucks through the donation button.
Yeah.
But, you know, right now, that stuff is in the back of my mind. You know, we need the help, of course. Every band does. But there's much bigger fish to fry out there right now than making sure I will survive.
Yeah,
I will be okay.
Right.
I'm not ashamed to, you know, go broke and say, hey, I got to move back in with my parents until some of this shit blows over.
Yeah,
and it's okay. So, you know, I'm not telling people to do anything. But if they do care, just listen to it. We've got that new record out, and we should have some new merch dropping. Hopefully, a vinyl version of the live record comes out. Yeah. So
just a final question to just finish up, right? Like, you got a good era going on right now of heavy music. Like, when I look at the bands that have broken in the last 3 or 4 years, who have just kind of had their breakout success, bands like yourselves, Vane, Code Orange, there's a band on the way called Slow Bleed that are so sick, out of California.
Okay, cool. Do they have anything out?
They've got an EP out. Like, I'll text it to you afterwards.
Cool. I want to
like this era of heavy music, does it feel like you're part of something special? Because all these bands are different to one another, but everyone's bringing something that's super exciting at the minute to the world of heavy music.
Yeah, I really do. I think, and a lot of them are our friends. It's like Code Orange, Turnstile, Vane. All those bands you've mentioned are people that I know and have hung out with or toured with, and like I'm so proud of everything that they do. Whether it's my style of music or not, but like I do feel like the creativity of heavy music is sort of coming back the way it was in the 90s, sort of, where people were willing to take risks and actually execute it successfully, and I think that's something that, I think, for so long in the 2000s, it was like people discovered programming music and digital recordings and all this stuff that, rap and a lot of like really overproduced stuff took over the airwaves. Trapped being a perfect example of like not what a good representation of heavy music is. So yeah, do I see any of our bands being on the radio? Not really, but I don't think we really need the radio anymore. But it's been cool. Last night, the local metal station played. They have like a local 2-hour show, and they played 2 songs off the live record. They've played our stuff before, so they're supportive. But yeah, I think you're dead on. I think people, you look at a lot of rappers and how they dress like rockers. They want to be punk rockers. You've seen, who's the guy who did what did he do? Did he do a Rage Against the Machine song or like a
Denzel Curry?
Denzel Curry, right? Yeah. And that was really cool. Like I thought he did a really great job on that, and I would love to get into a room with those guys and some musicians and be like, look, let me show you how to write a fucking metal song, and we'll come up with some really cool lyrics, and you can still be you. And that's something that I think those boundaries are being broken down constantly, with pop stars wanting to have that rock and that metal aspect sort of, but the sound doesn't really back it up. So I don't know. We did a few shows with Volbeat, and I thought we were too heavy for half the crowd. So maybe the mainstream world isn't really ready for bands like us or Code Orange or whatever. But the more pissed off the world gets, I don't see them going to Adele to satisfy their musical needs.
I hear you. I don't fancy listening to Camila Cabello at the moment. It's not my vibe.
Well, it's funny. I've been listening to just like a lot of like new wave and a lot of old 80s music, a lot of Sisters of Mercy and New Order, and then like even just like Bananarama and like Switchblade Sisters and the Strawberry Switchblade and all this other shit. And it's just, I don't know. I guess it's because, you know what I do? I'll say this. I have been jamming the hell out of that Body Count album. I think not just because I'm on it. I skipped my track, but I think the rest of that album is legitimately really, really, really good. I think it's the best Body Count album, period, that he's done. I think it's the best work that he's done.
And the last one was sick as well. Both the last 2 Body Count records have slammed.
Yeah. But I mean, I think Carnivore is really, really taking it to another level. And like, I don't know if you saw the Bum Rush video, but they did that like 4 or 5 months ago, like before the quarantine hit. And it's like on some crystal ball type of shit, like the whole video is just like riot footage and them taking over the airwaves, and kind of like it reminded me of all the people in Seattle taking over Capitol Hill and stuff like that. And I don't know. He sees the world and he sees the big picture, and I admire and respect the fuck out of him for that. So
Amen on that.
That's one new album that I'm impressed with, and I think Code Orange really did do something special on their last album. they know that their style isn't something that I'm super into. But I've jammed that record a few times because I'm just like, what the fuck are they doing right now? Like, what's going on with this production? This is insane. So I think that they really hit a big milestone with Underneath, because I think it's something that they've been building to, and they finally like, knowing them as friends, I think that they finally nailed what they've been going for a long time. So
all of that, and now I've got the thought of Power Trip and Denzel Curry doing some kind of Anthrax and Public Enemy deal. Like, Riley, chase that down, my friend.
Well, I mean, even someone sent me a video of Post Malone and this rapper Puya talking about wanting to make music with us, and I'm like, I'm here, I'm down. I have nothing better to do. Y'all are rich. Fly my ass out. We'll write whatever, you know, like. I'll sleep on your couch in your mansion, you know, like yeah, it's been cool getting attention from. I don't know that Denzel knows who we are, but you know, we've been doing the Evil Beat series of shows, the kind of hometown shows. We've only done 2, but we asked Denzel Curry to do one, you know, when we did the show back in January, and I think he was on his own tour. But yeah, we're also, you know, from that sort of rap and pop end of things, where they're embracing rock and roll. I'm trying to get to a level where we're meeting them halfway on the other side too. It's like, yeah, man, you want to make a fucking song with our band? Come on, like, let's do it. You don't have to hire these random guns to play a cover with you. Like write some real shit and put it out there, and yeah, let's do this thing for real. So
it's a wonderful thought, Riley. Cheers for checking in, man. Look after yourself, and I will see you soon.
Yeah, thanks for having me anytime, and it's always a pleasure. You are one of the best interviewers in the game, so mad respect to you, Bees. Love the Exorcist shirt. More record. Got the Guns N' Roses box set.
Next time you're in LA, you'll have to come round, man.
Yeah, you gotta let me come check out the pad.
Absolutely, mate. See you soon.
Okay, great. Thanks for having me, dude.
See you later, mate.
Yeah.